Welcome back to the Chuck's Legends series. I'm your host, Prince Hudda. Inside the Chuck's Roadhouse location, I'm very, very honored to be joined by two Maple Leaf legends, two guys who, if the current team had a chance to sign, I would take it right away. To my right, Jim McKenny. To my left, Iafrate.
This is Chuck's Legends.
Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm amazing. I'm excited. Thank you.
Looking forward. Everything's good, Rich. Yeah,
Amazing. Well, you know, we've interviewed a few Leafs legends, so it's really cool to have two more today. And obviously you guys have had, you know, different careers, but both, you know, pretty prominent roles on the Maple Leafs. Jim, you know, you started in Ottawa, ended up playing in Toronto and get drafted by the Leafs. Al, you came out of Michigan, 4th overall, and I just wanted to ask right off the bat, you know, when you made it to the league, was there a specific moment in that first season, or maybe right after the draft, where your welcome to the league moment? We'll start with you.
I think my welcome to the league moment was my first day at training camp, because my career was kind of fast-tracked. I played midget hockey, read the Hockey Weekly in Michigan. There was tryouts for the sports festival. I was a midget, I was 17. And myself and Pat LaFontaine ended up going through the tryout process, and I made the Olympic team when I was a junior in high school, and I was like, oh, do I quit high school and do this because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? And it all worked out because a couple of the coaches were professors, so I got to take correspondence courses. And then I played on the U.S. national team because it was professionals then, not amateurs. Didn't play a lot, you know, played enough, but I think when you're 17 years old in any sport and you're not touching whatever the main object of that sport is all the time, and everyone else that's your age is, I think you're being passed, you know. I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're young, being on the best team isn't the best thing. Right. Being on a team where you're going to play a lot is more important. And, you know, but back to your question, I got drafted right after the Olympics, well, not right after the Olympics, but that year was the draft, 84, right after the 84 Olympics. And I basically went from midget hockey to playing a little bit to 10 games of junior, get drafted, then I go to an NHL training camp. That 1 year was a blur, and I wasn't ready mentally. I was a big guy that could skate, shoot, all that stuff, but I didn't really understand the game. I thought hockey was like a track meet where, oh, I get to go end to end. You know, it was, I had to learn the game on the job, and, you know, I had my ups and downs, and, you know, I'm sure the Leafs wished I would have did better when I was 18, but I wished I would have did better. But the aha moment was probably my first exhibition game where, you know, you always thought you were the fastest guy. Now you're skating against guys that are 30 years old that are as fast as you or faster. They're stronger than you, and they certainly understand the game more than you because, you know, my whole, you know, hockey career up till then was, you know, you're an individual guy playing on a team, but you're trying to get to another level, so you're trying to showcase your talents. So having said that, you know, I think my first NHL training camp, exhibition game, training camp game, all of it, because it was such a shock factor of how the game I was going to have to learn how to play is being played compared to what I was used to playing, where it was all offense, no defense, no fighting, and then all of a sudden I'm, you know, getting into the end of the, when I turned pro was the end of the, I guess we'll call it the rock'em sock'em hockey, and it was kind of the ending of that and the beginning of the, you know, more all offense, Edmonton Oiler reign. So it was a big transition, but I can honestly say I'm glad that I was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, because being a hockey player, getting to play in Toronto, people can say whatever they want about the team. It's the mecca of hockey, and, you know, I think it's an honor to, you know, to to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm glad they drafted me.
For sure, for sure. That's a great answer. And Jim, what about you? Was there a specific moment? Was it a culmination of a few things? Like, what was that moment for you where it's like, oh my God, I'm in the league now?
I don't know. It took me a little while to get to the league because I spent like 3 years in the minors. So I was owned by the Leafs when I was 15 years old. I came to Toronto and played for the Marlies for Neil McNeil my first year. And once you played a junior game for that team, you were owned by that team for life. Yeah, there was no draft or anything. They did have a mock draft like when I was 18 or 19, but it was a crock of shit. It wasn't real. You know, Montreal got all the players that they wanted to get. Toronto got all the players they wanted to get, and then the rest of the league got whatever was left over, right? So I ended up being with the Leafs. I went to my first training camp. Then I was in really bad shape. I was like 215 pounds, and I played like shit. So I got cut right away. I got sent down to Tulsa, which I loved it down in Tulsa because I went down. I played in the playoffs there the year before, and the bars stay open all night. Does it get any better than it? I mean, I'll go back there in a heartbeat, right? So I went there for about 3 months, I think. And then they called me into the office and said, you know, you're such a bad influence on the rest of the guys on the team. We're going to send you to Rochester. You know, I went there. I had a wife and kid by that time, you know, and like I was a mess. So, you know, this was just the start of it. I go to Rochester, and my buddy Gary Smith was the goalie there. Terry Clancy was there, and a bunch of guys I knew. And then I played there. I think we got to the final or something, and it was lots of fun. Nobody wanted to room with me when I first got.
Why is that?
I never came to the room, right? And then there was another guy on the team that was pissing and moaning about everything. Nobody wanted to room with him, so they put us together. So I ended up rooming with Don Cherry for 3 years.
Wow.
Yes, which was great. Grapes was really good for me because my confidence was really down when I was in the minors and that shit. And then Grapes really, he pumped me up, and we got going again. And 2 years we played there together. We played in Vancouver together in the Western League. Then the next year I made it to the NHL. I played for Team Canada. We went over to Leningrad, which is St. Petersburg now. So that was part of my deal. Then I ended up making the Leafs, and Davey Keon was playing there at that time, and Tim Horton was there, Bobby Vaughn. A lot of the old Leafs were still hanging around there. And so it was a great place to play. Toronto.
You mentioned Toronto being the mecca of hockey. Like, what did it mean to you guys specifically, and I guess to this fan base, to wear that blue and white and be a part of the Maple Leafs?
I personally didn't realize, like, I was one of those kids that every sport they played, I wanted to be a pro. You know, I wanted to be a pro at baseball, football, soccer, hockey, basketball. And I had no idea the gravity of how big hockey was in Toronto until I got drafted here, and it was very eye-opening. And then at first I was kind of hesitant, and, you know, coming from an Italian family, being the youngest boy is kind of like being a pharaoh or a prince or something like that. And so you're kind of catered to a lot when you're a young Italian boy in a family. And I had no idea, you know, how big the fishbowl of Toronto and the hockey could be. And I learned, and it was, I learned on the job, and it was, like I said earlier, there was a lot of ups and downs, and once I realized that how great being a Toronto Maple Leaf can be, once I, you know, changed the way I'm looking at this and understand, you know, what this is, what I'm trying to do. Once I figured that out, you know, my career kind of took off, and that's when I realized that, you know, if you become a player that people appreciated the way you played and stuff like that, that, you know, this could be a great thing going forward. And just playing for the Canadian city, I think, you know, I played professionally in Canada and the US, and, you know, I haven't played obviously in 25 years professionally, but in my era, there was, you know, I was on great teams in other cities in the United States, but it wasn't the same as being a professional hockey player in Canada. And I love it. I think it's how passionate the fans are, and the whole culture of hockey in Canada. I love it.
Jim, do you have a similar, I guess, feeling of why it's so important to, or what makes it so important to play in Toronto, and why this is such a, you know, hockey mecca market?
I think they won about 4 or 5 Stanley Cups in the 60s, so the expectations in the city were like very high. But in those days, you only had to win 2 series, and boom, you're in. You win 8 games, you're in. Now you got to win 16. The Leafs were like gods in those days. You know, my roommate was Jimmy Keon. And Jimmy was David's younger brother, and I played with him with the Marlies for 2 or 3 years. Then he went with the national team. Then he ended up being the president of Andre's Wines. He's a brilliant guy. I don't know what he was doing hanging around with me, but David was the big god for the Leafs, you know, and George Armstrong. All the guys were really good guys. They were, you know, but at the start they wanted to win all the time. You look at our team, we're horse shit, right? We had a great, you know, we missed the playoffs my first year I played with the Leafs full time. Then the next 10 years we made the playoffs anyways, and we'd always go 1 or 2 rounds. Then we'd run into Boston, or we'd run into Philadelphia. But the game was way different then than it is now, and I'm glad I played when I did. You know, so I heard that Montreal they won Game 3 against Buffalo. After the game, they went back and they had a nice rec room with pizza and sandwiches and stuff for the guys. I said, please.
Would you have stayed in Buffalo or flown back? Like when that happened, do they fly back home or they stay in the away arena?
Last we always took the bus to Buffalo. So we'd very seldom stay over in Buffalo, but sometimes we'd play Buffalo maybe on a Sunday night and then stay over in Buffalo. Then on Monday would fly to Philadelphia or something from there, because Harold would get a cheaper flight. So, yeah, we do that, but very seldom did we get to. The guys loved Buffalo. Was a great town.
Their fans are
I was
crazy.
glad that's a cheaper flight.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's closer.
It's
We
closer,
flew
yeah.
from there.
Yeah, once they sent me down on the private jet, 11 minutes it took me. Wow. Yeah. I said, is this a return trip? They said, no, you're not coming back. So that was okay. Harold had his own plane, and him and Stafford Smythe, and they had to use the plane every once in a while, so they gassed me one day and sent me down to Rochester. And I didn't get back for about a year or so, but that was okay. I liked it better in Roch than I did in Toronto anyways. Yeah.
Was that a big hockey market? Like, were they notable of what was going on with the team there? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was good. Yeah, but we used to get like 5,000-6,000 people there. When Quebec had come in, they'd pack it, because we'd always get in brawls with them. There'd be bench clearing brawls in Quebec.
Right.
And then when Quebec would come to our place, everybody had figured that the brawl was going to continue, which it usually did. And so there'd be, you know, they'd drop the puck and play a couple of shifts, and then there'd be a bench clearing brawl, you know, with 20 guys fighting against 20 guys. So you had to make sure you got off the bench in a hurry and grab a country clubber on the other fucking team, or you're going to get the shit beat out of you. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was totally different than
Different game, yeah.
than it is now.
The eras are different. Well, Al, I wanted to obviously talk about the fact that you were once clocked as having the hardest slap shot in the history of the NHL at the time, 105 miles per hour. Is there a point in your career where you knew that you had a shot that was harder than anyone else in the league? Or was that moment when they clocked it where you were like, oh shit, like I actually have something here that nobody else does?
I figured I was going to be in the mix, but I didn't think that I was going to win it or I'd have the hardest shot. I knew I shot hard. I worked on my shot a lot growing up. I worked on my shot. It didn't really start progressing until I got a little older. When I turned pro, I was fortunate in that, I got drafted by the Maple Leafs. I had a coach that coached me growing up that, never let me take slap shots.
Really?
Yeah, Elfie Turcotte's dad, Riel Turcotte. He's probably one of the pioneers of all the hockey schools that are out there. He was one of the first guys doing hockey schools. The Riel Turcotte stick handling school. And it was all about, what the game is now. It was all about speed and skill. And that's kind of why when I came into the league, that was my blueprint. I was, a product of that, type of thinking, and it was a learning game after that. But as for having the hardest shot, harder than everyone, I knew I'd be in the mix. I didn't know if I'd win it. I thought I was going to win the fastest skater because I was always in that too. That was the one I wanted to win, but I could never win it. I'd always lose to Mike Gardner, Sergei Fedorov, Paul Coffey. So that was the one that I worked pretty hard on my skating as well, but that was the one that I wanted to win. But when I did win the hardest shot, I was a little shocked. When I hit 105, because I was always, in the years at the All-Star games before that, it was 100, 102, 102.7, and then, the difference between 102 and 105 is huge compared to like 78 or 80.
Right, the numbers at the top, yeah.
Once you get to the tip of the spear, the gains are very incremental. Kind of like, going from a 4.840 to a 4.640 is going to be a lot easier than going from a 4.2 40-yard dash to a 4 flat 40-yard dash. So I was pretty shocked when I shot 105, but I was even more shocked when the record stood for as long as it did, until Chara broke it. I think it was like almost 19 years, and I figured by then someone would have broke it. So every year during the All-Star game after I retired, that was always a big topic of discussion.
Would you tune in, or would you have someone tell you, oh, it got broken?
I'm saying the media would call me, ask me, who's gonna win? What do you think? Do you think they'll break your record? I'm like, I hope they do. Records are made to be broken. I ended up working at Warrior, and then Warrior Sticks, which I was a part of, the R&D and stuff like that, was the stick that was designed for Chara when he broke my record.
So you're part of that record then too, yeah, all right. So you have the record, and it was broken by someone who kind of had it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still happy.
There you go. And Jim, you were regarded as one of the most smooth skaters of your era when it comes to playing on the Leafs. If you two were ever to go head-to-head in an all-star skills competition, who do you think would take the crown? Based on all the different
Al would be way faster than me. Okay. Yeah. I never skated in a straight line.
Right.
So
hardest shot, I guess. What are the other ones? It would be passing challenge or breakaways, you guys.
Yeah, but in the old days, nobody ever timed your shot or any of that stuff. I mean, some guys could shoot the puck hard, and some guys couldn't.
Is there ties anymore in the NHL? There is, right?
I think for speed challenges, yeah, there's definitely ties. But yeah, other than that,
Bobby Hull used to shoot the puck from center ice in Chicago, and in Chicago they only had lights on the ice. Yeah. So on top of the boards it got dark. So once the puck, he'd shoot the puck up, and then it'd come back down onto the net. The goalies just used to go like that. They couldn't see it. Right? Holy Christ, yeah. And he could shoot it hard. So could Dennis, his brother. He said, Dennis said, Christ, if I ever hit somebody in the head, I'd kill them. He said, with Bobby, it's okay. It'd be one of the other guys. With me, it'd probably be one of the Blackhawks I hit. So, but they could both shoot the puck really hard. We didn't have guys that could pound it like that.
That's unbelievable.
But they were unlimited hooks at the start. Before then they went back down to a half inch or something.
Now they're unlimited ones.
Yeah, but with the sticks they have now, you'd shoot the thing 150. Those things definitely.
Yeah, they're cheat codes now with the way they designed it. But you're kind of part of that now, is what you've admitted, right?
Well, I wouldn't. I'm not. I mean, I'm part of the story of Warrior because I was there when the whole brand started as a hockey brand. It was a lacrosse brand started by a guy in Michigan, Dave Morrill, and Jim Davis, who owns New Balance, bought it. And Warrior's a division of New Balance. Great company. And I don't know. That's the infamous question that everyone always asks me. How hard would you shoot now? And I always say, what's the record? And they say 108, and I'm like, I'd shoot 109.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, buck and a half, easy.
We're gonna do a bit of rapid fire here. I want to get you guys' takes on a lot of these questions here. Maybe it'll be the same answers, maybe different. But the first one is, what team did you both absolutely hate playing against?
Montreal.
Montreal?
If we were leading. If we were trailing, it'd be a nice game. But if you ever got ahead of them, holy crap, they'd be coming in waves, So, yeah, they were deep. Like all three lines. They didn't use four lines in those days, but all three lines that they had would come in and they'd rough you up. It was easier for a defenseman in those days because your other defense partner could fend guys off, right? You could run interference for them, and the goalies would stop the puck behind the net all the time. If a goalie ever let it go into the corner, I'd be kicking his ass when we go into the dressing room because, if the puck goes into the corner, there are two guys running my ass, right? And I got to grab on the puck and then try and get the puck up the boards to the winger, and then the asshole winger passes it back to me, right? So I don't want it back. Once I give it up there, you either eat it or get it out,
So Montreal would be your guess. What about you, Al?
Yeah.
I'd have to say mine would be Pittsburgh.
Okay. Why is that?
Because when I was in Washington, we had a really good team, but could not beat them in the playoffs. And that was both years we lost to them. The back-to-back years we had great seasons there. They won the cup. We had them down 3-1 the year they won their first cup. And I think for me, that's nothing against any players or the way they played or anything like that. I think for me, it's because of they were that roadblock in something I was trying to be a teammate of, a team on, of winning a Stanley Cup, and they were like our arch nemesis in Washington.
Right.
And then that lasted for a long time with Washington, and then finally Washington broke that curse when they won the cup, 6 years ago or 7 years ago.
19 was it, or 2019 maybe, or 18 or 19? Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's a good answer. Next question. Who is the most unforgettable personality you've ever played with? A guy that was a teammate or someone that you just, whenever you think about playing, you think about that guy when you're on the Leafs?
Craziest guys, Timmy Ecclestone probably was one. He got traded to Toronto from Detroit, I think, for Pierre Jerry. And so we ended up being roommates for years. And he was a character. There was a lot of the stories I can't share with you.
Yeah, we won't share the stories, but personality.
You really don't want to know.
Yeah, okay.
But,
I do want to know, but I know they don't want to know.
Funny guy, yeah. One time we had a bench clearing brawl in Philadelphia, right? So we're all on the bench, we're all bleeding and all that kind of shit. And Ecclestone's there, and he turns to Ingy Hammerstrom. He said, I bet it wasn't like this on the brochure.
Right.
He said, yeah. So it was pretty he was full of shit.
What about you, Al? Most, I guess, unforgettable personality you played with on the Leafs?
I'd have to say Borja Salmon. When I was 12 years old, I wanted to be Borja Salmon.
Right.
Because he was, one of the first European superstars when there wasn't very many of them in the league, and it was kind of an I shouldn't say anti-European league, but I don't know, maybe it was. I wasn't playing, so I don't know, but I just know there wasn't a lot of Europeans in the NHL in 1977.
I think they were the first one. Him and Inga were the first guys that came over.
Nedemansky. I mean, I don't know who was before them.
Yeah, Ned might have, he was in New York, wasn't he?
Same era, same years.
Yeah, but there was a German guy too that came. I forget his name now.
But I mean, for me, it was Borja because I wanted to beat Borja as a kid. I wanted to be that guy.
It's crazy.
And then I get drafted, and they're like, "He's going to be your partner." And I was his roommate my rookie year.
Wow.
And it's kind of just how he was. Our team was struggling, and Borja never degraded because in that era in the NHL, it's a lot different than now, where I don't think coaches, managers, anyone had a problem degrading you in a public forum.
A different culture now, you're saying. Yeah.
If you weren't performing, and I should maybe not the word degrading, but being not too positive.
Calling out, yeah, it would be like something like that.
It was, and Borja was like he never made you feel worse than you were already feeling on your own. He would try to pick you up, and I always remembered that as I got older and became a veteran and tried to be a leader and a leader of young defensemen or whatever. I always remembered how he treated us young guys, and it was a big deal. It was not. Toronto's not an easy place to play when you're not losing. In my rookie year, our team only won 21 games. And then we drafted Wendell the next year, and made the playoffs and got better incrementally every year, but never as good as anyone or everyone would have liked to. But Borja for sure. Definitely.
Well, we'll wrap here with one just out of curiosity. You guys mentioned the league's obviously changed in a lot of ways since you guys have played. If you were both 18 years old today entering the league, what would be the hardest thing you think you'd have to adjust to versus what you had to do when you were playing? And what do you think you'd be better at now than you were at back in the day?
I think the hardest thing in the league now would be not getting mad.
What do you mean?
It doesn't, it seems like the teams that do really well are the teams that seem to get mad.
Right.
You know what I mean? For me, that'd be a hard thing for being on a team that gives up 5 goals consistently. When I turned pro and you were a defenseman in the NHL and you were on a team that gave up more than 3 goals, you literally thought, as a defenseman, you weren't going to be in the league anymore. That was the whole benchmark. We don't give up 3 goals, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like,
It's moved a little bit.
yeah, you can be on a team that gives up 5 goals a game, 4 games in a row.
Right.
And I don't, the inner workings of how the teams are run, I don't know how they are run now. But I do know that, goals against, no matter what sport you're in, or points against, isn't good. And when it's excessive, it's really not good. And that's kind of a mindset that it isn't, this game we're not going to give up a lot of goals, but next game it's going to be easy now too. It's a culture, a mindset, it's all of that, and it's kind of what a group of guys has to do to get to a common goal, a common place where they want to get as a team. And ultimately, pro sports is about one thing: winning. Period.
Hardest thing for you to adjust to if you were to enter the league today?
I'd probably have to go into rehab, like before I went to my first training camp. But you know, it had nothing to do with the league. It had to do with me.
Right.
You know?
I guess personal, you're saying it's more than it is the league itself. And then what do you think you'd be better at today, knowing what you know now, if you were to enter the league at 18 versus back in the day?
Understanding the inner psyche of the physicality of the sport. You know, because I was a wild Mustang. You know, I was a rushing defenseman that kind of was out of control as a young guy because I really hadn't learned the game. I was still learning the game and understanding how to be a defenseman at the NHL level. You know, I think for me, once I realized that, because I didn't care if a guy hit me. If a guy hit me, I didn't care. And in the era Jim and I played in his era is earlier than mine. When a guy drilled you back then, it was like a guy my size, they expected me to like fight again, just because he hit me. Or with me, I was like, okay, he hit me, but I still got by him, and it was a cheap hit and didn't hurt, didn't bother me, whatever, I'm gonna play hockey. But once I realized that once you start throwing big hits, you know, and taking big hits, and once you stand up for yourself and change the way, you know, you're gonna receive a big hit or what you're gonna do after a big hit, once I realized that there's that physical part of the game that, you know, I'm a big believer that there's not a ton of guys, not every single guy in every team is willing to do all that stuff. And, you know, ultimately every team wants to get the most guys that are all willing to do all of that, right? Block shots, all that stuff. And for me, the physicality, learning that and understanding how much more time as a defenseman that wants to rush the puck, if I start throwing some big hits because I'm a big, strong guy, they're not going to be so anxious to forecheck me real quick or to hit me, which is going to give me more time to break the puck out. It's going to give me more time, you know, to carry the puck, to do things, which is going to help my team. So once I figured that out in my era, I realized how beneficial it was for my career. So if I could do it all over again, I would have, because there was coaches that were on me to do that, and I was that young kid that was inexperienced and maybe a little too coddled when he was growing up. Sure. And I was like, you guys are against me, but really they just wanted me to become the player I could become. And once I was old enough and mature enough to understand that, it's kind of when my career, you know, took off.
Interesting. Well, that's a really good perspective. I appreciate you sharing that. Jim, what about you? What do you think, if you were to enter the league today at 18 years old, what do you think you'd be better at handling or dealing with now versus when you joined the league back in the day?
Basically, my job was to move the puck, you know, and all the other stuff. You didn't really have to get prepared for the game. Like, as soon as you got into the game and a guy hit you or you hit somebody, the light comes on, right? And Borja was like that. Borja would come into the dressing room 5 minutes before the game or before the warm-up, throw his stuff on, go out for the warm-up, and then once the game started, he was the best player on the ice. Like, it didn't matter who we were playing, didn't matter any of that shit. He was there taking my job. You know, he was playing on the point on the power play. I played for 4 or 5 years before he came. That's what I was doing. And then I never realized that he took my job till I was about 70 years old, because he was such a good guy. Right? He's one of the best people you'll ever want to meet. Really, really kind guy, very smart. He had about a grade 9 education, but he could play chess with anybody in Toronto. Yeah, he'd play all the guys outside Sam's Records. Sam's Record House, they used to have 4 or 5...
On Yonge Street there?
Yeah, and they had 4 or 5 checkerboards there where they'd play chess. And boy, you would go there, he'd beat all the best guys. You know, like he was a brilliant guy, and he'd always win in the card games too. We always had card games on the planes. He would win all the time. Like he would win $1,000, $2,000 every trip that we're on, and he loved all that shit.
I appreciate you both sharing with me some stories, kind of your insight into the game and sort of, you know, the mindset of a player from your era versus now, and some of the cool things you shared today. I really appreciate both of you for coming out here to Chuck's Roadhouse today to continue this Chuck's Legends series.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Big thank you to Chuck's for having us today. Subscribe on YouTube as we continue this Chuck's Legends series. As I'm Prince Hudda, Iafrate, Jim McKenny, signing off for Chuck's.